And welcome back, everybody. Will here. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Tom Campbell. If you're not familiar with him, that's okay. I hope that you learn a little something on this journey today. And without any further ado, I hope you enjoy.
This is Thomas Warren Campbell. He was born on December 9th, 1944. He earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in physics and a Master's degree in physics from Purdue University. He even started his PhD in experimental nuclear physics, but he didn't really get a chance to complete it. He didn't really want to either. You see, even though he was extremely grounded in the traditional academic path, his accolades are amazing. He really wasn't satisfied with learning that way. He was actually more interested about learning about the consciousness.
He would get that opportunity to work on consciousness really in the 1970s with this gentleman here, and this is Bob Monroe. Bob was just coming out of the entertainment business. He was super successful, became a millionaire. Now, Bob is so cool that he actually hit my top 20 list of conscious science researchers, and he actually gets his own video, so I'm going to leave that off with Monroe. But how Tom Campbell and Monroe kind of met is Monroe had already been experimenting at the time with some out-of-body or non-physical states. And he established a laboratory at the time. It was later, this is going to be later, the Monroe Institute, but this was just a laboratory at the time for studying those states. Now, Campbell, along with an engineer friend, Dennis Minrick, NASA, was brought in to help build the lab, set up experimental procedures, and develop technologies, notably binary beats, to assist in inducing specific altered states. Now, according to Monroe Institute archives, both Campbell and Minrick made a deal with Monroe that they would work 15 to 20 hours on some of his work. In exchange, Monroe would show them his information, his results, with all of this equipment. Something like that. So later, that work would be called, together they developed what would be called hemisync. It was sound frequencies that synchronize the brain's hemisphere and help people enter altered states. Tom wasn't just building the tech, he was testing it on himself. And what he found would forever blur the line between physics and mysticism. You see, over the next decades, Tom started exploring much deeper. He experienced non-physical realities directly, describing them as informational-based systems that follow rules, just like the physics does. Eventually, he built a theory to explain it all, a grand unification he called My Big Toe, short for Theory of Everything. In My Big Toe, Campbell proposes the consciousness is the fundamental field. The base reality, everything else, energy, matter, even time, is information rendered for the conscious experience. He compares it to a simulation, not a cold machine, but a living, evolving digital universe designed for learning and growth. To Tom, we're not just physical beings trying to become spiritual. We're consciousness exploring a virtual world. Our purpose? To evolve towards lower entropy, meaning toward love, cooperation, and understanding. See, and this is me talking here, I've always been fascinated by thinkers who bridge science and spirit, and Tom Campbell stands right alongside Itzhak Bentov, Jacob Grimberg, and the list goes on. And others who dare to test the invisible. If you've ever wondered whether your thoughts shape reality, or whether this world might be a vast consciousness simulation, Campbell's work, that's for you. Go read My Big Toe. From Monroe's lab in the 1970s to the digital universe of today, Tom Campbell continues to remind us the final frontier isn't outer space, it's the space within. So I can't mention Tom Campbell's name without mentioning the Gateway process and his impact on that research at the time. If you're not familiar with the Gateway process, it was a kind of a CIA-funded investigation in consciousness. They enlisted the help of some of the top scientists at the time, including Campbell, Monroe, Bentov, Menrick. I just want to touch on that a little bit and tell you my input on this. Tom Campbell did most of his work back in the early 70s with Monroe, establishing the instruments, doing a lot of the framework for it. He probably was consulted about the project and asked questions, but nowhere in my finding did I find he wasn't a psychological warfare agent. He wasn't contracted by the CIA at the time. In fact, all of my research shows otherwise. He was actually doing lectures, and he was a very public figure, and he was doing other works at the time. But basically, in a nutshell, Monroe built the training, Campbell helped prototype and validate it in the 70s, and then it wasn't until the early 80s that McDonald later analyzed it for the military purpose. I just want to speak a little bit more about the Gateway process. That document was super cryptic. One, it went missing. It was classified for 20 years, and on a subject that shouldn't have been classified for 20 years. But it was. In fact, page 25 was missing, later found in the Monroe archives. There was a lot of other mysteries that surround that. If you get a chance, go check it out. It's called The Gateway Process, or you can go read McDonald's book about it. I think that's more of a complete source for it. Today, Tom Campbell is still exploring the edges of reality. Not in a government lab or university, but through a global community of consciousness explorers, much like I got here. He continues to lecture around the world, teaching workshops on out-of-body travel, remote viewing, and the physics of the soul, blending science, spirituality, and a few other things. Now, in his late 70s, Campbell runs the Big Toe International Organization, sharing decades of data and direct experience through online courses, YouTube talks, consciousness experiments. Yet, for Tom, it's not about fame or proof. He often says that the real evidence is in your own experience, and how you live, how you love, and how you evolve. His message remains simple but profound. We are all the consciousness, and the purpose of life is to lower our entropy, to become love itself. So, whether you're meditating, dreaming, or just curious about what lies beyond this physical reality, remember, the adventure isn't out there. It's happening right now, inside of you. And I want to thank you guys if you've made it this far. If I've earned it, please hit that like and subscribe. I've always been really fascinated with Tom. I love his work. I love that he came from a really strict kind of logical academic path. And then he ended up at the same result as a lot of us. That consciousness connects us all.